Okay, Suzuki 115 4-stroke, electronic fuel injection, outboard motor, of course. There it is. And God, if a video only had smell, because the fuel odor coming out of this thing is horrendous. And I mean, we deal with this kind of stuff all the time, but this one's exceptionally bad. There's a guy on YouTube at another boat mechanic shop did a great fuel story on how the fuel in boats is affected on these non-pressurized fuel cells, and we've been preaching that for years. And this is a great example of it, this particular boat. This customer, we serviced it, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and apparently it's been sitting again, so the fuel system has suffered once again. Now, I don't believe the injectors are clogged because we never got that far since it wouldn't even start. The fuel sample, these gentlemen, fine gentlemen, Kenneth and Kenneth, took some samples following their protocol, and we pulled a fuel sample out, and you can see that's just a cloudy mess. And it's a little hard to see in this, but there's some water accumulated right there just at the bottom. So that's a very small jar. What is that, about 4 ounces, 3-ounce jar? About 3 or 4 ounces. And it's already accumulated that much. So if he takes that lid off, which I want him to do right now, and we have this fan right here, and I want you to set that jar right there on top of that battery. And let's just leave it there, because this is what's happening when your boat is driving. So we have these atmospherically vented fuel cells, that's our fuel tank, and we got this air blowing across it. And over a period of time, this is going to start to cause some moisture problems. The alcohol is going to be evaporated out, and it's going to cause the air, cause condensation, and moisture is going to accumulate on that. So on this one, we have the high pressure, this is called the VST tank, and the high pressure fuel tank for the fuel injectors. So here we have the tank body, and this is the electric high pressure pump. There's a float right here that the fuel from the gas tank gets pumped into and converted to high pressure and then sent to the fuel rails. There's also this high pressure fuel filter, which can be clogged, and they're pretty expensive and they're special order. This electric fuel pump has a little sock on the end, and you can see, if I can hold steady enough, that little screen is suffering due to some clogging that's happening on the inside of this tank. So inside this tank we got some corrosion, some buildup down there, see that? And there's a fuel pressure regulator, and this is the pump side, and that little filter hangs out down in there. What most people don't realize, they can save themselves a lot of money, is this little hose right here, which is wide open, and that's a valve, and you unscrew that valve when you're going to store this motor, and you drain the fuel out of this VST tank, so that this kind of stuff does not happen, and you're not in the shop getting these very expensive components replaced, serviced, or cleaned. Now, this pump is no longer good. Moisture has attacked it, and it is completely seized up, and it doesn't operate anymore, and it will have to be replaced. As well as we have this needle valve up inside of here that is corroded pretty bad. And, you know, for lack of better words, it's like a toilet tank. So we pump the fuel in through this red hose. It fills up this tank body. This electric fuel pump right here sucks it from this side, high pressures it out through the filter to the fuel rail. That's why we have this very expensive filter here to protect the fuel injectors from being clogged. We go over to the motor. We have a pre-filter from the gas tank, as well as underneath this hatch we have, that's okay guys, we have this 10 micron spin-on fuel water separator filter. So we have a fuel filter down there, then we're suction up through this factory filter into this brand new fuel pump, which we replaced last year. That's what sucks all the fuel from the gas tank and fills that tank that we just showed you, that unfortunately for Suzuki they mounted right behind the intake manifold right here. And it's not very convenient to access and change, but that's how you have to do it. These are the fuel injectors. See if I can get a little close up here. And those are laser cut holes, and they're pretty clean. These injectors have some staining on them, and they are suspect to be clogged, and we will bench clean these before we just put them back in. We'll go through this whole service of this motor We're also going to pump the gas tank out and put some fresh fuel in it. We're going to change this filter again. We're going to purge all these lines. We're going to replace any lines that are bad. We're going to media blast and acid dip that VST tank so that it's perfectly spotless. We're going to replace this and potentially the needle and seat in here if it's more corroded, which it looks like it's suffering pretty bad in there. So we'll probably replace every bit of that needle and seat inside of there. You can actually see just in this short amount of time some moisture accumulating on the outside of this jar. In just that short amount of time it took us to do that video, there's already some moisture starting to form in there. And like the other gentleman on his YouTube video, you can see a little cloudiness up here. See that cloudiness just above the fuel level? That's moisture. And that's happening just in this short amount of time. So just imagine if that's a 40-gallon fuel cell or a 30-gallon fuel cell, you know, this is what's happening, and we can accumulate a ton of moisture, and therefore it rusts and attacks and causes electrolysis and all kinds of things in these fuel systems of these motors. Now I believe in 2012 and maybe sooner, the boat manufacturers have decided to get to pressurized fuel cells on watercraft to eliminate that type of stuff being so problematic, because many boat shops are seeing this, lawnmower shops and motorcycle shops, a lot of people, primarily I think boat shops. This is something we deal with on a daily basis anymore, and it really is quite a financial burden to the customer. There are some things, some phase guard, fuel additives, Stay-Bil, Seafoam. There's a lot of different products available to try, but there is nothing that will absolutely cure this problem other than maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. And to go against what we've been saying for many years, you always want to fill your gas tank to the top. Well, today that's changed, and we want to actually just carry enough fuel for the day and keep the gas tank as empty as possible. So that's it. That's your fuel injected, water, atmospherically vented fuel system problems of today's 4-stroke fuel injected outboards. That was a mouthful. Anyway, I hope that helps somebody.